Ik zit in de midden, jij zit daar, Leo, en zo.
I think that it is important that dancers study music. Is it important that a musician studies dance?
A very good question. I like that question very much. I will tell you why. I believe so.
Okay.
Because I think such a lot of piano playing or of music making becomes serious. Which is nothing wrong with being serious, of course, it's necessary in life. We can have moments we've got to be serious. But somehow it needs sometimes the feeling of movement of the dance and of the lightness or the way of movement is very important.
Okay.
May I ask you a question that reflects on this question?
All right.
My question is the following. Talking about movement, if you write a work, I can imagine you're writing a work and you have a dancer in your mind or a group of dancers in your mind while you're working. You're going to the studio, you're working with them, you're working very closely, watching what they're doing, deciding how to do things.
Yeah.
And the dancers, each has their own character. I assume not the same as another. I think everyone is completely different. So the movements you're making and the not only the movements but the feeling behind the movements would probably fit the character of that one dancer. Now here comes the question. What happens when you go to a different country or your work is presented in a different area with totally different dancers?
It's another good question, I think, but it's like a conductor is conducting a Berlin Philharmonics and the next day they conduct the New York Philharmonics. I think it's very similar. And the different characters of dancers can be again compared to different characters in the orchestra. And it's up to the conductor to unify, to make a unified sound that is the interpretation of the conductor, I suppose.
You know, you've just said my next question.
Okay.
My next question was about that, because it was how close that is to conducting and to working with an orchestra. Because somehow a great conductor doesn't put things into the orchestra, but the conductor takes things out of the orchestra in a way, listening very carefully to how people play and how they can draw things out to make it into something worthwhile listening to.
Okay. Well, choreography is different from that if you want to compare it, because a choreographer is actually a composer as well as a conductor. So it's a different approach. But it's interesting that you speak about choreography for many people. I've done that for many years because we had an orchestra, and for an orchestra you need a great ensemble. But lately I much prefer to make small works, chamber works, where you really zero in onto the character of that dancer, and usually it is only this specific dancer who can dance this role and nobody else.